Hi everyone! Yes, I've been absent for a little while, but I came out in a massive cold sore, and I'm sorry, no matter how well we get on, no, cold sore, ugh, gross. Anyway, today is going to be my Believathon wrap-up. So the Believathon was a reading challenge that was set by Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin. Please go and check out his YouTube channel. He talks everything middle grade, so if you want to know any books for an 8 to 12-year-old in the UK over here, if you want to know new middle grade books coming out or anything like that, he's the guy to go and check out because he's really on the ball and it's certainly his area of expertise and he's really fantastic actually. So, you know, there you go. I'll leave a link to his channel down below. But the reading challenge was running from the 11th of May to the 24th of May. And it was to read middle grade books. Now this time, Gavin gave us a journey that we went on. There was a map and everything, and depending on your journey depended on what your challenge was. So I did this with my boys. We all chose our own path and we found books that fitted each prompt and we all read our books. I managed to read all 5 of my books before the end of the readathon and didn't quite manage to get another one in. I was going to try and read another book that I had, but it just didn't happen. My youngest managed to read all 5 books within the first week and then completely diverted and did his own thing. That's fine. And my eldest did at least the first 3 books and then got completely sidetracked by other books. So, you know, kudos for him. He actually stuck with it for quite a while though. So the first prompt was The Poacher's Pocket Inn, which was inspired by A Pinch of Magic by Michelle Harrison. Now this prompt was to read a book that is first in the series. The School for Good and Evil has been on my shelf for quite some time now, so I thought, perfect, I'll read this. It's quite popular at my school where I work, so I figured actually this is a series I should be aware of and should be reading. I quite enjoyed this. It's a little bit obvious to start off with. It's like, yes, I totally get where this is going. But then at some point it turns into something actually quite clever. And I'm not quite sure when it did that. But I found myself enjoying it more as I read more of it. This is a series. I think there are now 6, 7 books in this series. Certainly it seems to be an awful lot of them. And as far as I can work out, they follow the same 2 characters that were introduced in here. This does finish at quite a nice point, so if you only wanted to read the first book, you could get away with reading the first book. But I think I'm actually going to keep going with this series because I really did enjoy it. And I certainly found Agatha was very engaging and quite identifiable as a character, particularly if I'd been 12, 13 when I read this. So there we go. That was my first prompt. My second prompt was Baba Yaga's house, which obviously comes from the house with chicken legs. And the prompt for this was to read a book about friends and family. So I read The House with Chicken Legs. Again, another book that's been on my shelf for a little while and I haven't got around to reading it. This was very different from what I was expecting. I'm not quite sure what I thought this book was about, but the way the story unravelled took me by surprise. I wasn't quite prepared for the sort of the heartbrokenness in this story. It's quite, you know, gut-wrenching in places. I really felt for Marika, yeah. I really felt for her as a character. She does terrible things for all the right reasons. And she just wants her family. And it's really sort of, you want to give somebody a big hug by the end of this book. It really is one of those. I don't know if I would have picked this up, you know, in the bottom end of primary school when I would have come across this. But certainly I'm quite glad I've read it because it's yeah, interesting stuff. Right, so for me, the next prompt was The Deep Woods, which was a book written pre-2000. So, you know, for some people, that's quite an old book. For some of us, it ain't. Anyway, I picked up my husband's Star Wars books. This is the Young Jedi Knights series, Heirs of the Force. This is the first one in a series of 14 books. Actually, they're quite hard to get hold of, and so we've got about half of them, but not all in the right order, which is very annoying. But this follows Han Solo's and Leia Organa's children after the Return of the Jedi, and they've got married, and they have, yes, they have kids. No, it's not Kylo, it's not Ben. No, it's Jaina and Jason and little Anakin. So if you want to know about the children of the Jedi, go and find the books because they're much, much better. Anyway, this is... Actually, I'm going to tell you what I found on Goodreads. There was a fantastic review on Goodreads that said this is published in 1995, 2 years before Harry Potter hit big time. It has a trio of trainee wizards, in this case Jedi, who come across a dark evil by their school and have to basically prove that they can solve this problem. It's very much Harry Potter in the Star Wars universe before Harry Potter. So I'm sorry, all you people who love Harry Potter, JK did not do it first. She might have done it the most popular, but she wasn't the first. This is very enjoyable. It's very much for the younger end of the middle grade books. I'd say 8 to 10-year-olds, particularly if they're Star Wars fans and know a lot about the original trilogy, not the Disney films, but you know, the original 1 to 6 films, even just 4, 5 and 6, because it focuses on the events of the rebellion. This is obviously set after the rebellion, that the Empire has fallen. But there are repercussions from all that, and it's here in the background, but it's also about young kids training to be Jedi and what that means and how you do it, and it's actually very enjoyable. It's a nice little romp adventure and I really enjoyed it. Then I went off for a sci-fi or a book set in space prompt, which was The Land of Orion Found. So I read Orion Lost. Now I picked this up for my eldest son just before lockdown actually, because Gavin suggested it and I thought, perfect, you know, there's not enough sci-fi out there for kids. This is really good. It's got the sci-fi element running through it because it's set in space, it's on a spaceship, it's in the future, so it's totally sci-fi, but it's got this huge mystery twist that happens, you know, about a third of the way through, and you're sat there trying to work out what's going on, why things don't add up, and it's really clever how it plays with technology, how it plays with your expectations, and how it plays with the characters' self-esteems, how they discover that actually they're kids, they're learning, and I really enjoyed it. I'm not going to spoil it for you because it's one of those I think you should read and enjoy without knowing too much about it. But if you're looking for a decent sci-fi story for that middle grade, the 8 to 12 audience, or even a little bit older, you can't go fair wrong with this. Very, very entertaining. And finally, my last prompt was for the Bookkeeper's Stronghold, which was the heart of the map. And this one was to read the next book in the series, or the sequel. So it was basically, you didn't have to read like book 2 of the book that you read for the first prompt, but it was a book that was within the series that you needed to read. So I gave Poor Unfortunate Soul a ride, because I've read a few within the Villains Disney books, but Poor Unfortunate Soul I picked up a bit later on, and it was one of the earlier ones that I hadn't read, so I thought I'll read it. My problem with Poor Unfortunate Soul is I couldn't remember enough of the previous books to actually figure out had I missed something or had I not been told something that I needed to know for this story, because it certainly felt like there was another story that I'd completely missed running alongside it. It's not the best one. My favourite so far, and I've read half of them now, is Mistress of All Evil. That is my favourite because, one, it's Maleficent, but two, it does something a bit different with Maleficent, and because it came out around about the same time as the Disney film, it kind of plays with the idea that Maleficent isn't just this evil witch, that she's more than that, and I like that. I like that we're getting other sides of Maleficent and the Dark Fairy. So, Poor Unfortunate Souls, yes, it's fun, but it's not the Ursula big villainous story I was hoping for. Ursula's story certainly felt like it took a backseat to the main storyline going on. And like I say, I think I'd forgotten something or I've missed something, because I certainly felt lost for quite some time reading it. It's going to be one of those series I'm going to have to reread all the way through, isn't it? So there, my 5 books for the Believathon reading challenge. I know loads of other people have been posting vlogs and all that. I'm not that organised. I'm hopeless at live filming and things like that. Maybe later in the year. I don't know. You know, give me some encouragement. Let me know if you want to see that sort of thing. Otherwise, I just won't do it. But yeah, 5 books for the readathon, which I was quite pleased with. I really did think, am I actually going to get through all my books? Because The School for Good and Evil took me 4 days to read. Okay, I was still working and I was doing the housework and I was helping with schoolwork, but it was taking a long time to get through that first book. But I got there. I managed to read all my books and I'm really pleased I did, because there's so much good middle grade out there that I haven't actually read, because I kind of missed it when I was a kid and jumped very quickly onto the teenage and the adult stuff. So it's quite nice to see that there's a whole bookcase now dedicated to all these new authors. And my kids are now this age where they're in that 8 to 12 age bracket, and there are so many books for them to choose from, so many genres, so many voices telling stories, and it's fantastic. If you did the Believathon reading challenge, let me know your links to your blogs or your vlogs or just what you read down below and what was your favourite book of the lot. I'm certainly going to say Orion Lost. I really enjoyed that. That was like, yeah, perfect. So that would be my favourite one out of the lot. And like I've said, go and check out Gavin's channel if you want some middle grade recommendations. Middle grade isn't straightforward and cute and easy anymore. I mean, there is that stuff out there if you want it. Some middle grade is really deep and emotional and you get really invested in it, and the characters are complicated and nothing's black and white anymore. And that's fantastic. It's giving this whole world opening up to a younger age group reading, and I think that's brilliant. So he's got loads of recommendations. It's certainly where I've been going and saying, yeah, I need to read that one, I need to read that one, I need to read that one. You should see my shopping list lately. There is a lot of middle grade books that Gavin has directly recommended, and I've picked them up because how could I not? As usual, in the description box down below will be a link to a small booktuber. Please go and share the love with them. And there are links to my social media and my book blog, which has been very quiet lately. I apologise, but I will be updating lots of detailed, hopefully, book reviews on there over the course of the next week, which will be nice. I will also leave a link to the YA Fantasy Addicts spruced up and sparkling looking new website, where there are loads of book reviews on YA fantasy books in particular. That is the focus for it, and you may find a couple of articles written by me on there as well. So I'll leave that link for you to go and find. As always, thank you very much for watching. Happy reading and stay safe.